Deep in the heart of the countryside stood the Weeping Cathedral, a forgotten relic of a bygone age. Its Gothic spires clawed at the sky, and its once vivid stained glass was now a dull mosaic of dust and grime. Yet, it was not the cathedral itself that unnerved those who passed by, it was the angels. Carved from cold stone, the angels lined the cathedral's interior, each frozen mid-weep. Their faces were buried in their hands, tears carved with unsettling precision into their marble cheeks. No two were the same, and no one knew who had sculpted them. But the legends spoke of the angels moving when no one was watching. Marion never believed in such nonsense. She was a historian, skeptical of superstition and eager to debunk the stories surrounding the Weeping Cathedral. Armed with her notebook, flashlight, and camera, she ventured inside one stormy evening, her breath visible in the cold, damp air. The interior was vast and eerily silent. Rain drummed against the cracked windows, the sound echoing through the empty nave. Marion's flashlight swept across the angels, their forms looming in the shadows. She paused before the largest one, its wings spread wide, its hands covering its sorrowful face. "Just stone," she muttered, snapping a photo. But when she glanced at the camera's screen, the angel's position seemed off. She looked back. The angel hadn't moved. Surely, it was a trick of the light. Hours passed as Marion documented the statues, her movements slow and methodical. Each time she turned her back, she felt a creeping unease, as though unseen eyes were watching her. She brushed the feeling aside, until she heard the scrape, a sound like stone dragging against stone. She whipped around, flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The angels were as she had left them. Yet something was different. The nearest angel's hands were no longer covering its face. Its hollow eyes stared directly at her. Marion stumbled back, her heart pounding. "It's just my imagination," she whispered. But when she turned her light to the others, she saw that they, too, had shifted. Hands lowered, faces turned toward her, their once sorrowful expressions twisted into something far darker. The scrape came again, louder this time. Marion bolted for the door, but it slammed shut before she reached it. She screamed, banging on the heavy wood, but it didn't budge. Behind her, the sound of stone grinding grew louder. She didn't dare turn around, but the cold presence closing in left no doubt. They were moving. Her flashlight flickered, and the room was plunged into darkness. She fumbled for her phone, its weak glow illuminating the closest angel. It was mere inches away, its mouth open in a silent scream, hands outstretched as though to grab her. Marion's screams echoed through the cathedral as the angels descended. When the storm passed the next morning, the cathedral was as still as ever. Only one thing had changed. A new angel now stood among the weeping statues, its face frozen in terror.